love. I just have to keep my heart open for Baba to pour his love in, and then I'll pour it back. Because in a way, the love for God is what Baba says in Beings. It's a gift that God gives the lover and forgets the gift, so that he can give that, receive that gift back again of love freely. So it really does come from him. And that's very cheering, because lots of times you feel you don't have that love for God. But if you remember that it's really his gift and all you have to do is just be receptive, it's a lot easier than thinking you're going to create this kind of feeling. You can't. There's a great deal of difference, incredible difference between that feeling of love and any other feelings of love that you've had. It's similar to human love, but it's just a world apart. Anyway, then Baba beckoned, made a gesture which we understood, and we went over the bridge to the guest house and met the women Mandali, Mayra and Mani. There were 6 women who came with Baba then. There was Kitty and Rano, Goer, Meru, Mani and Mayra. And that we heard about them and corresponded with some of them. And that was a great moment to meet them, and especially Mayra. It was just like meeting your cosmic mother. Something's very special. And then we spent this week with Baba, 7 happy days, which I did write up in this issue of The Awakener. I tried to remember and write down everything. We had many, many little private moments with Baba. We'd get up in the morning from the cabin, and Adi would have driven in Baba from his house, this lovely house that Elizabeth built for him at the center, and then get a hug from Baba to begin the day with. As sometimes now, you know, and I think, oh, I wake up, no, then I'll imagine that I'm getting a hug from Baba. That's a great way to begin the day. And Baba's eyes were always twinkling with happiness and something very deep besides. The way he looked at you is, well, you see a little bit of it in film, but no film in the world will ever give you that feeling, because it's more than just the physical look that he's giving you. It's like, it just goes way down in. And one message that Baba gave, which now is a classic, we were all seated with him in the women's quarters, the guest house, and he kind of used Adele, and these people had all been with Baba, I imagine, for a long time, but we've got these little discourses, and he looked at us and he said, inscribe this on your heart, and he goes like this with his finger, you know, God alone is real, only love for God matters. And it was as if his finger, the divine finger, you know, was really writing it in your heart. And it's something like, it's going to stick with you for a long time. And then that first day, too, I had gifts, and Adele had gifts for Baba and for the women. I had seen that picture that we all know was taken in London by Imai, the Japanese, of Bob in a little fake fur jacket. So I got inspired to make him a fake fur jacket. And it was pretty silly when I think of it. But it was made of white bunny fur. And I lined it with a turquoise velvet or something. So Baba, very sweetly, he always accepts gifts so graciously. It's a good lesson for all of us to accept anything graciously. He got up and he put it on. And then I said, Baba, it's reversible. And he took it off and put it on. And Adele had made him a handkerchief, a purple handkerchief. And he tucked it in his pocket. And then later that same day, we were called in again, and on the bed there were laid out some little gifts and treasures, and we were asked to pick one for us, for each of us. We picked one. And I picked this pin, and Baba held it. and then handed it to me. And I thought I would pass it around. Baba actually held that. So we had these happy moments.
I also gave Baba
a pen.
A pen.
You gave him a pen?
And then Monty sent me a picture of Baba using that pen to sign God's peace.
And that very first day that I met Baba in the evening, that's when he said, he looked at me and said, Phyllis looks to me Egyptian and Persian. So he was kind of confirming that there's some link between me and Baba of an Egyptian life. And I do remember, afterwards, that whole following year, I did remember that whole life with Baba, but that's another whole story. But definitely was some link there that Baba was. And so we spent this very happy week with Baba, and there was little foreshadowings of what was to come. Like one night Baba said, I'm thinking of a number from 1 to 22. Who can guess it? And everyone went around the room, and it was Adele who was the last one, and she said 11. Baba said yes, and it was 11 days from then that he had this accident, this famous accident in America. And another time, I had bought this camera. I think Adele shared it, I don't remember, but a little box camera. And I was happily taking pictures of Baba. And this is the one I took. He posed for me in this picture. How debonair he is. It was great. This is the famous red scarf he always used to wear. And then, what? Yes, Narina would pose like that. That's interesting. Yeah. Fashion plate. And then we offered it to Mani to take pictures on the trip across the United States. You know the story of Baba's life, I'm sure everyone here. He was going to travel across the United States. And we thought Mani would like to take pictures. And maybe we should open the door a little, it's getting stuffy. And Baba said, you sure? You sure you won't need this? And we said, oh no, Mani would like it. And that was the only thing that was crushed or lost in the accident of this camera, little box camera. Sharmi took some very nice pictures too. And she had a fancy camera with a lot of the slide camera, you know, that you spend hours in those days fiddling with. And Baba would stand there and he'd get kind of impatient because you have to pose Baba in the light, and he didn't like to do that. And so I kind of felt self-conscious after a while too, and I quit taking pictures, and I never took pictures after that of Baba. But I have some very nice little color snaps. But Charmian had these really lovely slides, so she must have them somewhere. And the famous part of that 52 was the open day. See, we had been more or less privately with Baba, and some of the closer ones had spent time with Baba there, Ivy and the Shaws and so forth. But the open day was May 17th, and that was just about a week from May 10th. And our mailing list had gone out. Think of mailing. It's a very nice thing to mail an invitation to come and see Mayor Baba in Myrtle Beach. And about 500 or 600 people came. And Baba received them in the barn, that big barn there. And it was very touching to watch. Baba had given Adele and I a little job of the back stairs to stand there and be sure that people, after they met Baba, wouldn't tumble into the woods. You know, they get, you know, a little bit, because of course there's snakes there. We all know there's snakes in Myrtle Beach. So that was our job, and this one man, big, tall man, who'd come to our group a little bit, not a great deal, but he was really on fire from Baba's love. He was just shaking. Baba gave him a real experience of bliss. And so he stood there And Baba had given orders for us to gently lead people down the stairs. I said, how can I move this, this man? And Baba, of course, reads your thought. He turned around and went, let him stay there. So he stayed there quite a while, and then he went down. He stood there again. He was totally absorbed. There were a few people, not too many, but experienced something like that. And later on, you've probably heard all these stories many times, but this man came to the group, our Monday night group in New York, and after Baba had the accident, and Ivy Deuce was called to be with him, with Charmian and so on, she was writing every day, more or less, all the detail. And she wrote that Baba had a shot of Demerol. They set his arm with Demerol. And what his menu was in the hospital. He ate lamb chops and stuff, all these little details. And this man got so upset. He said, masters don't eat meat, and they don't take drugs. He got real upset, and he quit Baba right there and then after this experience. And so I met him on the street a year or two later. I don't remember his name. And I said, but what about that experience? He kind of put Baba down. He didn't want to hear about it. What about that experience Baba gave me? And he said, that was the devil's fire. Oh. And that taught me a big lesson too, that the mind, just like Baba says, the mind can doubt. The mind can go crazy on stupid ideas about masters and prophecies and, just its own ideas and myths, and forget and distort what actual experience has had. So that taught me something. And then the open day was over. These clouds had formed on that day. It looked like it was going to rain in a minute, but Baba seemed to have held it off. Until 5 o'clock, everybody was gone. And then he beckoned Adele and I to get in the back of the car to drive back to the center part. And just as we drove up to the guest house, and Baba got out of the car and put his foot on the ground. It was so dramatic. The heavens just poured rain, and this incredible streak of lightning, bolt of lightning. I've seen a lot of lightning, but nothing like this. Bolt of lightning went into the lake there, about 100 yards away. And from that time on, the whole climate changed, and Baba looked different. Everything. The next day was Monday, and he looked very fiery, and his eyes, a totally different kind of Baba. And he was calling Margaret all the time. Her story about the dancers who had to go through this terrible storm. They would miss the previous day. And he called for Elizabeth and said, where are your insurance papers? And he was just, and I think they left Wednesday morning for the trip. So it was like a reversal from this idyllic time. As Kitty said, I haven't seen Baba like this with people since the early days in the ashram. Being light and Krishna. She called it like Krishna, for that week. And I always looked back at that and thought, here was Baba knowing that this terrific accident was necessary, as he said, and yet totally not making us feel anything about it, except these tiny little hints. So that we had this lovely, idyllic time with Baba, which we actually never, I don't feel, had the same thing ever again, because Baba had the accident. And he came back, as you know, from the accident, never got to California. I always felt sorry for those people who had stayed here and not just jumped on the plane. And that's one thing you have to learn about Baba. You never miss, whether you go bankrupt or what. You go and you get there, because you never know what may happen, which was true. But and he did recover enough to come back to New York, which we hadn't expected, and gave darshan there in Ivy Deuce's apartment. And during the hottest days of the summer, it was like 95 with no air conditioning, and I was there for 3 days. And that was quite a new experience too. After meeting Baba yourself, the next wonderful thing is to watch other people meet Baba, to have the pleasure of, well, Mayor Baba, this is Greg Gunn, and I have to say something about you to him. And, you know, you bring them in and watch their reaction, how Baba treats each one. And, you know, hour after hour of that, because each person, it seems very long to the person, really, most of them. But he only saw people for about 3 or 4 minutes, you know, a constant group of people. And your head's just swimming, aside from the physical fatigue and the heat, and you're just drowning in this love that's being poured out. It's just an amazing experience. And at the end of the 3 days, some people had missed, some people, for various reasons, some of them helplessly so, didn't get there, and I was feeling real bad about it. I was sitting behind Baba and thinking, you know, where did I fail? I forgot to call, or did I call enough? Or, you know, well, you go through all that. Baba shook his head, he turned around and he said, everyone that I wished to come came. And that's very important because it's Baba's timing. It's Baba's timing. You can push, shove, and everything else, but he has it all on his divine computer without being inside him. And so I don't go through those convulsions anymore if someone missed or whatever. That was their particular thing with your Baba. So that was 52, memories of 52. And I think perhaps now I would just say that a very beautiful thing, which Francis expresses so well in this poem, that even if you haven't met Baba in the body, you meet Baba in the heart. Watching people meet Baba physically, some of them didn't react to Baba at all. There were many, many people, not at all, I mean, but you know, not in that way that you'd hope they would. You had all these little favorites of people that you thought had preparation for meeting a master. And sometimes those people surprise you by being rather indifferent and vanishing off the face of the earth. And others taking to Baba immediately, strangers even. So you can't tell about the human heart with Baba. He has his own links of love, as he calls them. And of course I've said things about that before. We can't judge those links of love and even worry about them with other people. Of course, just meeting an avatar changes your whole karma. We don't know what happened in their lives. A few I did follow later on that, quote, didn't become Baba lovers, but some of them became Catholic, good Catholics, or good humanitarians, or better doctors, or whatever, you know. Baba stimulated that in them. In fact, in 52, Baba was there in July at Ivy's place, and later I met a woman who had, during that very time, those 3 days Baba was in New York City, this incredible spiritual experience in a church which was just like maybe a block from there. It was interesting, you know, like, I'm sure it was Baba, you know, this person was ready for it, but I mean, it was, the timing was just too close. So you don't know. Baba would sit with us and say, while I'm seated here, I'm working all over the universe. And he certainly was. Well, that's just a little of my sharing this very special day. But I'll just say one more little story. Baba stood in front of the original kitchen one day. It was dawn, it was early, the sun was in the back coming up over the ocean. And very gradually his body just vanished. And then it came back. And it's like he was saying, I'm not this body. The body was like a mist rising off the lake. It was like I could see through Baba to the lake, the trees, the water. And that's meeting Baba. You met, you know, we do get attached to his physical form, but he obviously, it's just mist. And our bodies are like that too. You're not really in these bodies sitting here, although the combined poundage here must be pretty heavy. But you are a mist. You're not real.